welcome to my channel. My name is Chelsea. I'm a mama of two littles, ages 4 and 2. I stay at home, I homeschool, and I'm here to share with you some book suggestions that maybe you want to put on hold at the library or purchase for yourself to read with your littles. I'm going to share, I think, 8 half chapter books, half picture books, and I will also link below the name of the book and the author so that you have that available to you. So the first picture book I have is called The House of Grass and Sky, and if you are a dreamer like me, this book is for you. And I definitely dream of having land. I think that would be amazing, although we are so blessed to have the home that we do in Colorado Springs because the market is kind of hard right now. So this book, though, if you're a dreamer, it is just such a beautiful story about an older home in the country, and the house is basically waiting for the right people to buy it. And there's several people that walk through the house that maybe want to change it and make it bigger because it's a smaller house, too small for them. But then at the end, there's a family that just loves it as it is and just wants to make it, keep it the same, but repair it. So anyways, this book is just such a beautiful book by Mary Lyn Ray. And then I have, so this is kind of like a fall theme that I have going on, minus the chapter books. The chapter books are kind of just really good chapter books. But Granny and Bean by Karen Hesse. This is more of like a coast about a grandma and her grandson. And they walk the beach. There's very little, like not too many words on the page. It's rhyming. I feel like any little ones might be able to, it might be able to hold their attention. It held my 2-year-old sons, if that helps. But there's a lot of rhyming, very sweet story. So that's Granny and Bean. Then I have Hooray for Fall, and I don't even know the author, how to pronounce the name, so I will link it below. But this is Hooray for Fall, and it's a sweet story of 3 squirrel siblings that are just discovering all of the things about fall and how winter is coming, and just a sweet mice story. So that's Hooray for Fall. And then this one, my daughter and I, we read it and we loved it. It's a Patricia Polacco book, and if you know this author, she writes a lot of stories based on true stories on her life and or people that she knew. And Thunder Cake is the book that she wrote that we read, and it is about her grandma, who she calls Babushka. I think she was Russian, and this story is just really sweet. It just follows the different ingredients that they need to make this thunder cake and how they need to get it before the storm is right above them. And so they're counting between the lightning and the thunder to see how far away the storm is till it gets right above them, and then they're eating their cake while the thunderstorm is happening. Love this book. The recipe is actually in the back for the thunder cake, which has tomato puree in it, so it must be like a secret ingredient situation. Yeah, it's my grandma's thunder cake, and it's just so sweet. And maybe you want to try making the thunder cake, and when there's a thunderstorm, I definitely want to try it. So that's Thunder Cake. We are about to hit an Apple unit in our week, I think in 2 weeks, for our homeschooling curriculum. And so I borrowed a few books about apples. This one is From Seed to Apple Tree, and it follows the life cycle of a golden delicious apple. This book is so cute. It was not too intense to where my son, who's 2, could follow along with us. He sat in my lap while we read this book in the morning. And this book was just, it was a delight. It was great to read. And the pictures are very informative, but easy for kids to understand. So, and this is by Suzanne Slang, From Seed to Apple Tree, Following the Life Cycle. So this one was recommended when I typed in Apple books. This one was recommended, and it follows the story of Granny Smith, who was the apple, Granny Smith apple, was named after her. And it talks about how that happened, how she basically was named as an apple. So that's this one. And the pictures in this one are super pretty, but it is a lengthy book. So I recommend either doing it in chunks or maybe just taking a while to read it with your older ones. My daughter's 4, and so she could probably sit through this one, but not my son. The next book is called Sophie Squash, and this one follows a little girl who adopts a squash from the market and basically makes it her baby. And she plays with it and takes care of it until it gets all moldy, and then her parents are trying to tell her that it's supposed to be used to cook with, not to have a baby and take care of it. But she doesn't really agree, and so when the squash ends up getting moldy and squishy, she buries it in the backyard, and then she starts to see that it's growing and it makes a new squash. So anyways, very cute story, great for fall. The next story I have is The Moon Book by Gail Gibbons, and this book is super good. It's definitely very informative. I would say more on the nonfiction side for sure, which obvious, it's about the moon, but it is very in-depth, and some of the concepts can be really hard, especially for toddlers. So mostly older kids this book would work really well for, but the pictures are really neat for young kids to see and, you know, to talk about the moon and improvise as you go along. But this book was a good one for us. Lots of words though. So anyways, that is all for the picture books. I'm gonna move on. I've got 5 chapter books, and I have not talked on here about my feelings about chapter books and reading them to young kids, but I truly believe that I'm not about the wait till they get super old to read chapter books. I think that reading chapter books really teaches little ones perseverance in getting through the whole story. Even if you're reading it in small chunks or setting a timer for 10 minutes of reading, I think that they eventually get engrossed in the story, and then I feel like it does something to their imagination and just makes them I don't know, their play is different because they're talking about the book that you read or trying to imitate that character. So anyways, all that to say, I want to turn that into a video, and maybe I will in the future, but for now I'm going to go over these books that we have read. And the first one is Our Friend Hedgehog, The Story of Us by Lauren Castillo. And this book follows a hedgehog and her friends and how they all became friends. And this is actually another book that's by the same author. It's more of a wintry book, and we did read that one first, but then it was overdue, so I had to return it. So this is the only one I can talk about right now. But anyways, the pictures are beautiful. It's a stunning story. It's a very sweet one about friends, and the pictures are beautiful, and it's just, you can break it up into chunks. It is definitely a longer book, but so sweet. The next one is a Mercy Watson book, and this series, love it. So cute, so funny. I believe it's by the same author as Because of Winn-Dixie, Kate DiCamillo. I really should know this author. You'll probably recognize her. That's the author. But Mercy Watson is just follows a family, the Watson family, and how they adopted a pig, and the pig is part of the family, and the pig is like a child to them, and he loves burnt toast, and he's well known in the town. But the book, this one, is a chapter book. They also have smaller chapter books that are about Mercy, the pig, but this one is a little bit lengthier, so this one will be probably into chunks, but very sweet story. Just talks about how much mischief Mercy gets into. So that's Mercy Watson. And then if you are a fan of Sophie Mouse, so Sophie Mouse was one of the first chapter books that I introduced my daughter to, and that series, if you have not heard of it, look it up. It's such a good series. But this one is kind of similar. It's called Mouse Scouts, and it's a girl mouse scout troop, and it follows nature, all of the different badges that they collect as they go along. It has pictures, and then, just different things that they have to go through in friendship. So cute. My daughter loved it. Highly recommend it. All right, I absolutely love this book, and it's a series of books, and lately we've been reading them on audiobook in the car. And my daughter and and my son, whenever we drive to the gym in the morning, we always put on Miss Piggle-Wiggle, and it's a series. There's probably 5 of them, and this series is amazing. I love it. You have to have a really high imagination, I feel like, to enjoy it. But it's all make-believe, but it's about these parents that have kids with these characteristics or traits that they're not so fond of, like lying or tattletaling or selfishness. And the parents call Miss Piggle-Wiggle, which is this weird lady that lives in an upside-down house, and she is able to come up with these cures for these kids, and she gives the cure to the parents and what to do, and by the end of it, they're cured. And so it's really neat for my daughter to hear some of these, because obviously we are sinners. We know that we're not perfect people, and so we can mess up sometimes, but sometimes through a story, kids can learn so much because nothing is directly told to them. And that's what I want to talk about with chapter books, is that stories, kids listen to them. They listen to them and they start to reflect, and they apply it to them and their lives. And some of Miss Piggle-Wiggle's little cures, sometimes they recognize, like, I sometimes didn't tell the truth that one time, and Miss Piggle-Wiggle found this cure, and how interesting. And I don't know, it's just a cute, definitely for the imagination, but very sweet. And if you do not want to sit and read a book, audiobook on Libby has the whole, depending on which library, of course, because Libby is, the amount of books are different with each library, but usually they have Miss Piggle-Wiggle in audiobook form on Libby. So that is what we've been doing in the car, I don't know if you're interested at all, but this one's called Hello, Miss Piggle-Wiggle, and I think this is number 2 or number 3. I think it's number 3. So then the last one is definitely on the, you could read it in small chunks with really young kids, and it's an Arnold Lobel book, which is the same author as Frog and Toad, and it's called Uncle Elephant, and it follows just a young elephant that spends time with his uncle, and they do all kinds of different things, silly things, and while they wait for his parents are lost at sea in the beginning, and then at the end they come back. So he's just spending time with his uncle in the meantime. But it's very silly and a sweet book. So that is all I have. This is for the week that we've had, and these books will all go back to the library, and hopefully I'll be able to make a new video every week talking about the books that we loved. And thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. And if this was helpful at all and you would like to have more book suggestions for your kids, whether you're homeschooling or you just want to spend time and have a good quality book, highly recommend putting your books on hold so that you can go and check out the book and know what you're getting, instead of trying to, especially if you have little ones. Obviously, if you have older ones, you can go and actually look at the books that you want to get. But if you have little ones like me, when I go to a library, I can't necessarily look at books super well. So I end up coming home with books that maybe I didn't want to talk about, you know, death in that moment or something. But highly recommend just putting the books on hold, grabbing the books, going and spending time with your kids in the, I don't know, letting them pick out a few. It just makes the library trip kind of smooth and easier to just get in and out. So that's a suggestion. But if you loved what you saw today, please please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to have more content of books for you as we put things that are good and beautiful into our little ones. And yeah, happy reading. Thank you so much for watching.
We got time on our side.